Exclusive from the Florida Bulldog. Report entitled Judge Launches Search for Leaker in Huge Case Pitting 9/11 Families Against Saudi Arabia. The article is written by Dan Christensen. Quote, a federal magistrate in New York has launched a leak hunt in an effort to find out who provided a Yahoo News reporter with the deposition of a former Saudi embassy official that an FBI report says tasked two other Saudi men when helping two 9/11 hijackers in Southern California get an apartment, open a bank account, and find flight lessons. Apparently not satisfied with leaked denials made under oath by attorneys who represent thousands of 9/11 family members in their huge civil lawsuit against Saudi Arabia, Magistrate Sarah Netburn issued an order Monday demanding that four attorneys with the New York law firm Kreindler Kreindler provide additional declarations regarding their communications with reporter Michael Isikoff or anyone acting on his behalf. On July 15th, Yahoo News published Isikoff's article headlined, FBI tried to flip Saudi official in 9/11 investigation. The story says Yahoo News exclusively obtained a copy of the 600-page deposition of Musaed al-Jarrah conducted via Zoom by attorneys for the plaintiff's executive committee on June 17, 18. Jarrah is a former Saudi foreign ministry official who worked at the Saudi embassy in Washington in 1999. His name was redacted from a 2012 FBI summary report released to the Florida Bulldog in 2016 amid a Freedom of Information Act litigation that disclosed the existence of the FBI's Operation Encore, which probed Saudi government complicity in 9/11. Al-Jarrah's name was provided to the plaintiff's attorneys on orders of former President Trump. It became public when the FBI inadvertently released it in court papers. Isikoff's story reported that al-Jarrah said during the deposition that FBI agents previously questioned him 3 times and even threatened him, confronting him with photos of child pornography found on his home computer in an apartment attempt to flip him and gain his cooperation. Saudi Arabia promptly asked the court to investigate or authorize it to investigate Jarrah's deposition. Like numerous other depositions in Saudi government documents, is subject to a court-approved FBI protective order intended to keep information regarding the terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001 away from public view. The court typically enforces orders through its contempt powers, civil contempt by the imposition of a fine, criminal contempt by criminal sanctions that afford the target due process rights. I haven't seen an order quite like this before, said Miami First Amendment attorney Thomas Julin. The investigatory nature of this order raises an issue with respect to whether the court has jurisdiction to issue the order. It also raises an issue with respect as to whether Magistrate Netburn is acting beyond the scope of the matters referred to her, and by acting in an investigatory fashion is no longer impartial. Julian also represents Florida Bulldog. The fact the order requires disclosure of all communications with the reporter also raises a significant First Amendment issue. Julian said, the order is not limited to communications which would violate a protective order. The order, therefore, must be overbroad. Ironically, Magistrate Netburn's Monday order came on the same day that U.S. military forces left Afghanistan for the first time in 20 years. A presence which began 1 month after 9/11 attacks on New York and Washington. In a first order in the matter on August 12th, Netburn determined that there has been a breach of, at a minimum, of the protective order. She said the Saudis' lawyers at Washington, D.C. law firm Kellogg Hansen filed 27 declarations from everyone who received or accessed al-Jarrah's deposition. She also noted that 2 other leading plaintiffs' firms, Philadelphia's Cozen O'Connor and Mount Pleasant's SC's Motley Rice, also filed a dozen voluntary declarations broadly affirming under penalty of perjury that no one else from these firms leaked the al-Jarrah deposition transcripts. At the same time, Netburn stated that no such statements have been provided by the lead law firm Kreindler Kreindler, and specifically pointed a finger at plaintiff's attorneys James Kreindler. Circumstantial evidence suggests that this firm may be responsible for the leak, Netburn wrote, and Mr. Kreindler also appeared on Mr. Isikoff's podcast, Conspiracy Land, to discuss the status of the case in general and the depositions in particular. While the court has repeatedly admonished Mr. Kreindler from litigating the case in the press, standing alone there is nothing wrong with such communications. But the evidence certainly suggests an opportunity for Mr. Kreindler to have breached the protective order. But that's not all. Netburn also demanded a declaration from a Kreindler paralegal and the head of the law firm's information technology group, describing the investigation done in response to the breach. That declaration should demonstrate that a forensic analysis was done to identify who accessed the deposition transcripts, determine the dates of any access, and assess whether anyone from the firm emailed either of the two known Isikoff email addresses. Netburn further asked Saudi Arabian lawyers to facilitate the collection of declarations from Golcow Litigation Services, a global court reporting service, and to identify any law firm that attended the al-Jarrah deposition on behalf of a defendant or any firm representing a defendant that's otherwise had access. Similarly, the plaintiff's executive committee was asked to identify every law firm that attended al-Jarrah's deposition. All who identified must submit declarations under penalty of perjury as to whether they leaked al-Jarrah's deposition to Isikoff. All submissions must be made by September 10th. Isikoff's Yahoo News chief investigative correspondent was informed of Monday's order by Florida Bulldog. No comment, he said. End quote. The article will be linked in the description for Florida Bulldog. The article in question regarding the outing of Musaed al-Jarrah is from a Yahoo article written by Michael Isikoff on July 15, 2001, entitled FBI Tried to Flip Saudi Officials in 9/11 Investigation. According to the article, the FBI agents questioned the ex-official Musaed al-Jarrah at least 3 times, threatening him in an apparent attempt to flip him and gain his cooperation. According to a closed-door deposition of the Saudi national taken last month in June by lawyers of the families of the 9/11 victims, a copy of the deposition with some redactions for law enforcement sensitive material was obtained exclusively by Yahoo News. But the gambit does not appear to have worked. After acknowledging he was confronted by the FBI, Jarrah testified he was basically told the agents to take a hike. The deposition of Jarrah, who oversaw the Ministry of Islamic Affairs at the U.S. Embassy in the late 1990s and early 2000s, provided no smoking guns or dramatic confessions by the witness. But the more than 600 pages of transcripts of the deposition, which stretched over 2 days, reveals new details about the lengths to which the FBI continued to pursue the possible role of Saudi officials in 9/11 long after the public was led to believe the matter had been settled. Attorney General William Barr in 2019 imposed a state secrets privilege that had blocked documents from the 9/11 investigation into the Saudis from becoming public or even shared with the lawyers representing the families in the case. The lawyers for the families, backed up by allies on Capitol Hill, are appealing to Attorney General Merrick Garland to lift the privilege, arguing that the families deserve to see all the government's evidence about the Saudi role in the attacks. A fair day in court for these brave 9/11 families require access to evidence, wrote Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of New York, Robert Mendez of New Jersey, and Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut in a recent letter to Garland and FBI Director Christopher Wray. Department of Justice must not gratuitously stand in their way. The spokesman said the Justice Department is reviewing the request, end quote of the article. If they're led to believe that there was no Saudi complicity regarding the 9/11 attacks and the regarding of finances, of Khalid al-Mihdhar, Nawaf al-Hazmi, and Hani Anjur by Saudi officials like Omar al-Bayoumi, Osama Basnan, and Fahad al-Dumeri. for which Musaed al-Jarrah is linked to. Earlier this month, depositions were given to all 4 Saudi officials who were questioned by the 9/11 Commission in 2002, in which the 9/11 Commission found that Fahad al-Tameri was deceptive throughout the interview, which was held in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Fahad al-Tameri was the former imam of King Fahd Mosque in Culver City, Los Angeles, California. Omar al-Bayoumi was suspected as being a Saudi spy, even from FBI investigations into al-Bayoumi and his mysterious background, which involved a ghost no-show job at Davco. Omar al-Bayoumi is suspected of receiving funds from the bank accounts of Haifa bin Faisal, the wife of former U.S. Saudi Ambassador Bandar bin Sultan, close friend to the Bush family. And that money was sent to Osama Basnan's wife, Moeedi Dawikat. The money was then sent to Osama Basnan and given to Khalid al-Mihdhar and Nawaf al-Hazmi. So no matter what the Saudis may think, there is indeed a link between Saudi officials high up and at least 2 suspects of the 9/11 attacks, in which the FBI had tried to cover up and even tried to influence Ken Williams, former FBI Phoenix field office, to not and assist the 9/11 victims' families. The question is,